Hey guys, Sean T. Phillips here. Welcome to January 6th DVD update. We'll tell you what other DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten over the last 2 weeks or so. Like what I say, guys, enjoyed these update videos. Definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me comments below what you guys thought of the titles I checked at this update. 8 titles coming up which you guys like to review for future updates. Some of the things you guys have picked up recently. Now, the first one I got from Lionsgate, a movie that stars Aaron Paul called Come and Find Me, which is one of those movies I did not know a whole lot about this movie going into it. It's actually one of those movies I really ended up liking a lot. It sort of has that kind of feel of the movie The Vanishing. The Vanishing was like the original movie, then they remade it, with Kiefer Sutherland and, Jeff Bridges. But I actually always loved that, the remake version of the movie. But it sort of has that kind of feel, and like that feel of like those movies about somebody who becomes totally obsessed with something. It's basically, though, about Aaron Paul and his girlfriend. All of a sudden, one day, he has everything's perfect with his girlfriend. They move in together. They've had this really great relationship. All of a sudden, though, one day his girlfriend vanishes without a trace. There's no, he just cannot figure out exactly where she is, what had happened. The police are all kind of thinking that, they must have had some kind of a fight and something must have happened, and that's why she left. And he becomes absolutely obsessed with trying to figure out where she is, and like everything in his life was kind of going good until, when she vanished, and everything kind of fell apart for him. And he became just kind of obsessed about the whole thing, and was kind of always looking, always going to the police, always putting up flyers, basically anything that he could do to try and find his girlfriend. And then he ends up like digging through some old things and then discovering this film in the backyard, and these flowers, and where the flowers were this film, and he starts to look into the film and starts to notice like these people in the pictures that the girlfriend had taken. And then he kind of starts digging around and kind of trying to find out more and more about his girlfriend's past, and he starts to realize that he may not really know her the way he thought he did, and there may have been something odd going on. And what really triggered the whole thing to get screwed up is the one girlfriend's friend. This guy comes around that says that they had worked together. He's like trying to search for something, and then he's like, hits Aaron Paul over the head, and it gets this whole weird thing. And that's sort of what starts the whole thing of him realizing that there's something going on here. And he starts kind of going around and with the film that he found, and then realizing too, like trying to find the people in the pictures and stuff, and then realizing that these people are really mad that he's like lurking around, and it kind of causes a whole total mess of things going on when he starts digging around and stuff. I thought this was actually a pretty cool movie, and it actually like has some pretty interesting like twists and things happen. It doesn't really have like the absolute typical kind of feel like a movie like this would have. It's like a really actually pretty interesting one. Has on here though a commentary track on here, and then a featurette on here talking about the mysteries of the film. But like I said, I actually really like this one, and Aaron Paul did a really good job in this, carrying the film. The next one here from Sony, this is a limited edition version that actually comes with the soundtrack CD to the movie. It's pretty cool. I haven't actually seen in a long time like a, big release title that actually includes the soundtrack. So that's actually a pretty cool thing, because the movie has some really cool music. This is a movie, too, that I had actually never seen before. I had always seen, the DVD, or it was only on TV and things like that. I may have seen a clip or two on TV, but I never have actually seen this. It's a movie starring Tom Cruise and Renée Zellweger called Jerry Maguire. Like I said, somehow I had never seen this one. And this edition here also has 90 minutes of new features. It has on here new deleted scenes, retrospectives, a whole bunch of features on here, a picture-in-picture commentary track, which was from years back. It was kind of cool they included that, because like the picture-in-picture stuff, I remember they did that with like a couple Kevin Smith movies, and I think the original release of Ghostbusters had the thing when they were drawing on the screen. But it has on here though a 3-part retrospective with new interviews with Tom Cruise and the director Crowe. Like I said, 60 minutes of new deleted scenes, and then like the original deleted scenes from the past release, like tons and tons of features on here. But this movie though is basically about Tom Cruise's character, who's this sports agent, works with this agency, and they manage a whole bunch of different like clients all in the sports field, and he ends up basically getting fired, and he ends up basically because he writes this kind of manual about how he's like kind of like a saying how he's not happy about how the way he works, and the way how they're all about the money, and they're not really working for the clients, and they really don't care about them. And he like has like this whole thing about how he wants to kind of change and have less clients and work more on helping the people themselves and helping. That's kind of what he does. And when he wrote that thing though, the boss ends up firing firing him because even though everyone kind of liked this manual at the job, they, they didn't, the boss there didn't like the thing and let him go. And basically, he took away all of Jerry Maguire's, Tom Cruise's character's clients, and he only ended up having one client left, which was Cuba Gooding Jr., which is this, he's, a football guy who was trying to work on, building himself up and getting more money and stuff, but he's also very full of himself and has like a real chip on his shoulder and everything, and he has to kind of deal with working with this guy, and he's also like no one else really would want to work with him because he's very annoying and he's kind of all about the money. Like he always has those classic line in here like, show me the money and everything. It's like, but he kind of gets stuck working with him and he has to make this work. And it also deals with his relationship with Renée Zellweger, who worked with the business where Jerry Maguire was, and then when he quit, she kind of came along with him because she kind of liked him, and it's kind of their relationship and the strain on everything. But a very, very well done movie about trying to see if Jerry Maguire can Tom Cruise's character can kind of get back to the top again and kind of get everything figured out, because it's not looking good after he lost his job there. But like I said, I don't know how I had never seen this movie before, but really, really liked this one a lot. And like I said, too, this is definitely worth upgrading, though, because it has tons of new features on this one. The next one here from Weld USA, and this is a movie that I saw a lot of people posting about, a lot of people talking about this one. It's a movie from Korea, which I had, like I said, I had not gotten to see this one until now, but like I saw tons of great reviews on this one. It's a movie called Train to Busan, and this was actually one of like the best zombie movies in a very long time. Because like right now, there's always like a lot of zombie movies coming out, a lot of things involving zombies, like with The Walking Dead and everything, and it kind of, when it comes to newer zombie movies, some of them are just really not that great, or they're kind of like really a bunch of the same kind of thing you've seen a lot. This one was actually a very, very different movie, and the setting was really pretty cool because it's all set on this train. Like 90% of the movie is set on the train, but it's basically about this father who has to take his daughter to see the mother because they're like recently separated, and this is the father is like a business guy and really can't take the time to leave, but his daughter, it's her birthday, and she really, really wants to see the mother, and she hasn't got to see her for a very long time. So he reluctantly says, okay, I'll take you on the train. And the daughter's like, well, I could have gone myself. And he's like, no, I don't want you going on this train yourself. But of course, though, he goes on this train with the daughter as a zombie outbreak because of something that happened nearby. And what ends up happening, though, is one of these zombies gets onto the train, and then infects people on the train. And it's kind of like them, one by one, people getting infected, and then like the people who are not infected are trying to figure out how they're going to survive on here, and kind of like boarding up the doors of the train and trying to figure out exactly what they're going to do. And like I said, it's like most of it is on the train, but there's also a little bit of stuff that isn't as well. But I don't know, I thought the zombies in this were actually pretty cool, and the characters were great too, because there's especially this one guy that you're like really, really dislike this guy because he's like all about like protecting himself and like pushing like innocent people in front of the zombies, and like he's really horrible. He's one of those kind of characters you're really hoping gets taken out by the zombies. Like you really, really don't like this guy. But the whole movie, though, was exceptionally well done. Like I said, I just thought it was a really, really cool zombie movie. Really like this one a lot. It has on here, though, behind the scenes on here, and it also has the English language version. And I watched the dubbed one on this too, just to see how the compare. And it was actually, I thought, pretty well done, because some dubbed versions are not always that great, but for this one I thought it was actually pretty decent dub track on this. The next one here, this is from Umbrella Entertainment. This is a release from Australia, but this is actually region free because I checked it in a player that's not a region, all region player, just like a region 1 player, and it plays fine. So if you guys are interested, you guys can import this one over, and because I'm not sure when it's going to come to DVD in the US, but this is one like I've been really, really wanting to see for a long time. I saw a lot of people talking about this one online on Instagram and stuff. It's a movie called Beyond the Gates, and I really like this one a lot, and it's actually was filmed, a lot of the movie was filmed at Eddie Bracken's Saturday Matinee. There's like this video store in LA. I have one video of me there from years back, but it was like a really kind of a cool place, and they have all kind of VHS tapes and everything, so it's kind of cool to see them, that place in this movie. But it's about these two brothers whose father has kind of gone missing. No one knows where he is, and he's been gone for like a really long time, and the father ran this old video rental store. But since the father's been missing, no one's been running it, so the brothers kind of come back there, and they're like, well, it's been all this time, the father's not come back. So they decide to kind of close down the video store, pack it all up, and when they're in there, they discovered this old like VCR game, which was like those kind of ones where it was like a board game and you had like a VHS tape in there with it, and you would play the tape with it, and it would like say do this and do that, kind of like, because they also call this kind of like grown up bloody version of Jumanji, and it's kind of like that. But they find this, VCR game in the back room when they're cleaning up, and it's in the player. So they kind of are like, oh, we should see what this one is. They put the thing in. Of course, though, they start playing this game, and it becomes this whole horrible nightmare thing of when they're in this one. And like Barbara Crampton plays the woman on the TV. She was actually really, really cool in this on the TV, like, kind of looking at them with these really weird, creepy dead eyes and stuff. Like, I like this one a lot, but it's basically them playing this game, and like the one's girlfriend gets roped in the whole thing, and it has like, it's exceptionally gory. Like this, there's like some certain scenes in this that really go to extreme gory levels. And another thing that was cool was I just recently watched a movie called Siren, and the one guy was in the Siren, and the other guy, he was like this weird friend of his who has like a really, really cool, interesting delivery. Because I've like recently, he's been in a bunch of stuff, but like I really discovered him with that Siren movie and was like, that guy's really pretty cool. But he's in this one too as this really odd guy. He's like the friend they call the Drifter. But this is one though, guys, I would really recommend. I think it's also on iTunes and stuff, but I would definitely, if you guys want to see this now, though, you can, like I said, get this one from Umbrella Entertainment. The next one here from Fox is the complete third season of the show, Sleepy Hollow. This is one of those shows, I've only sporadically seen episodes of this show. I always see this one at the gym, usually, I think it's like airs like Wednesdays or something, but it's like one of those things that I always see like the whole episode when I'm at the gym. I guess to try and explain it is sort of like, I don't know exactly what you'd say, it's kind of like different types of like creatures and monsters and stuff kind of come into the dimension, and they kind of have to, these characters have to kind of stop them, and it's like all kind of like characters from the past and these creepy type characters, and like it's like warlords and wizards, and it's all kinds of things, and they're kind of trying to stop them and like take them back to the dimensions, and that's really, it's really, really tough to explain it. But if you guys have seen the show though, you know what I'm talking about. And so, like I said, it's just kind of them trying to stop these type of creepy characters all set in this one town of Sleepy Hollow. But it has on here, though, deleted scenes and a gag reel. So, like I said, it's always kind of cool for TV shows, especially shows like this, to see, like, gag reels and, like, the kind of, mess-ups and stuff like that. I always love that kind of stuff. But if you guys are a fan of this show, like I said, Sleepy Hollow, the complete third season is out. This one I was just watching now. And it's, it's an interesting thing. It's from National Geographic, and Fox put this out. And this is also, for those wondering, not a burn-on-demand release, because a lot of the National Geographic ones have been like burn-on-demands. These are, press discs and stuff for those who are wondering. But this is a show which is kind of interesting, too, because, Morgan Freeman is not like a religious person, so it's like his take on the whole thing. So it's kind of like a different view on this, and it's called The Story of God with Morgan Freeman. And, it's kind of cool they had him play, in Bruce Almighty, he played God. So, like, it's kind of funny. It's like and this is him, it's like a documentary, though, about him kind of exploring religions. And he goes through and kind of, like, interviews people and goes to, like, India and Israel and all these kind of things. And he talks about kind of, like, the different views on the afterlife, different views on, the apocalypse. And it's kind of like him just kind of going to these areas and kind of, like, exploring and going to like the Egyptian temples, and it's actually very, very well done. And he goes to, because I wasn't sure too if it was like a lot of like just mainly him narrating over it. No, it's mainly like most of it is him going to the countries and the areas and stuff. But it's definitely a very, very well done show. It's one I'm not sure if they're going to be doing a second season of it, but it has all the episodes from the first season on here. The next one here from Via Vision, and this is a release from pretty sure this was an Australian release as well, unless I'm totally mixing this up. I'm pretty certain. And this is the special edition release of Thief on Blu-ray, and this is a region-free release as well. So anybody in the U.S. can play this one. There's no region code on this. And it's a movie called Thief, which is a James Caan movie, which I had never seen before. I also watched a James Caan movie recently as well, Good Neighbors, which was actually really pretty cool. I've been catching up on watching stuff that I bought recently, but Good Neighbors was actually pretty cool. But this movie is called Thief. And it's, James Caan, it's basically him as this, it's also directed by Michael Mann, and I really like Michael Mann's kind of movies, especially around this period, like he did, the Silence of the Lambs film, the early one before that, blanking on the names right now, Manhunter, and like a number of other ones, but I like his kind of feel to these kind of movies. But it's basically, though, Michael Mann, directed, like I said, it's called Thief, and it's basically James Caan is this, like, basically a thief who kind of robs, breaks into safes and steals jewels and all kinds of stuff like that. And he's kind of trying to find the one big score so he can kind of stop doing this, because he's getting kind of tired of robbing for like a little bit of money and really not having a big reward for what he's doing. So he ends up getting kind of roped into work with these guys for this, playing this really big robbery. And it's kind of like, well, they're saying, well, you do 2 or 3. Or he's like, no, I'm going to do one big robbery. And it's kind of him trying to plan this robbery. But though, it's not probably going to go very well, because these guys that he's going to work for have a very shadiness to them. They seem very weird. And it's kind of him and his whole, like, his life and all the kind of problems that are going on in his life as well while this is going on, because he also runs this car dealership, which is really just a front for what he's actually really doing. But was really cool. Like I said, it's one that I had never seen before, but it has on here, though, the director's cut of the movie and the theatrical cut, which is kind of cool. They're both together on this, on 2 different discs of this one. The next one here, and this is a UK release, but the thing is with these are, the Blu-rays are region B, so you won't be able to play them unless you have a region free player. But 4K discs, as of now, are all region free, so you don't need, anyone who has a 4K player can play region discs from anywhere, which is actually pretty cool. Hopefully they don't start putting region codes on them. I don't know if they ever will, but this is the 4K edition of The Mechanic Resurrection. I don't know what's the company that put this out is. I think it's just the UK Lionsgate. I'm pretty certain, but it's Lionsgate, but from the UK branch. Like I said, this is Mechanic Resurrection, which looks very, very good on 4K. Like, I actually really like this movie. I know it kind of had some mixed opinions. I kind of like this a little bit more than the first Mechanic movie. The first Mechanic movie was really cool, and it was a remake of the movie from the 70s with Charles Bronson, but this one was kind of its own standalone movie. And I really like Tommy Lee Jones in this, and Jessica Alba. And it's basically, though, Jason Statham is is like done with what he's doing with these robberies and being a hitman and things like that, and he gets kind of roped back into it because he ends up going to this island and Jessica Alba's there. Jessica Alba ends up getting kidnapped, and they kind of force him to go and do these hits for them, like and it's like set in a really super greedy kind of vibe. Like, some of it's set on this like prison, and he has to go to, and if you've seen the trailer too, there's this scene of him doing this thing with the pool. This really great scene of him, like when he's trying to kill this guy in the pool. But like the scenes of him going to these different areas, like for the hits and stuff, are really cool. It's got a real like 70s kind of vibe to this, real throwback gritty movie, and it has on here a number of featurettes on the movie as well. But like I said, the 4K on this one, the big thing with 4K is, the HDR, which is like the dynamic range, which is all for like the contrast levels and the color ranges, more than the definition. The definition, you see, better details and everything, but it's really, the big thing is the color palette and things like that. But like I said, I really like this one a lot. And like I said, this 4K one, anyone can play this one. The next one here from a movie called Strand Releasing, and this is one movie that I really thought this was a great movie, called Closet Monster. This is one of my favorite movies I've watched in a really long time. And it's basically, though, about this kid. In the beginning of the movie, he's this kid who's at the school, and he sees this guy, like basically a hate crime ends up happening, and the guy who is a gay guy, and the kids, these bad like bullies at the school don't like that, and they end up doing this really terrible thing to the guy, and he ends up paralyzed. And basically, though, this kid sees the whole thing, and this kid is talking to his father about it and saying what happened. And the father's like, well, this happened to him because he's gay. And then he's like, starts make a crack at his son. He's like saying, you got to cut your hair. That's why you gotta have short hair. And basically the father, though, has his own kind of, the kid, though, kind of knows, even as a kid, as when he's younger, that he might be gay. And it's kind of him, kind of a coming of age thing, with him kind of knowing he's gay, but then the father, because of the way he acted when he was a kid, and when he told him about what happened to this guy because he was gay, the kid really doesn't want to admit to this, and he's kind of holding it in. And because of what he saw too, he's got like anytime he kind of thinks about it too, it makes him kind of almost sick, because he becomes it's almost like post-traumatic stress of what he saw, because he saw a really terrible thing. And him seeing that kind of brings up these problems. And it's basically, though, about this kid and the father who really doesn't know any of this that's going on. And it also has it deals with the kid, too. And this is when he's a teenager. he has this like weird like little like hamster that he talks to, and it's voiced by Isabel Rossellini, and it's just a very well done movie. I think the director is a really young guy too. He did an amazing job on this movie, but it deals with him too finding this guy that he likes when that he works with, and it's kind of him with all this relationship stuff, and the whole time in the background though, the problems with his father who's drinking, and how he really has to kind of hide it from his father, and he almost in a weird way can't even admit it to himself because of when he thinks about it, like I said, what he saw in the past, it kind of brings up this whole memories of him, and he sees it as wrong because of his father. The whole thing is just a very well done, amazing movie. Really like this one. Definitely worth checking out. The next one here from a movie called Video Nomicon, and this is a very strange movie called Orgroff Mad Mutilator, and it's not a shot on video movie. It was a movie that was shot on like 16 millimeter or Super 8, no, 8 Super 8 millimeter film, and it's got this weird, like something like I said called the Mad Mutilator. It's got this really weird kind of vibe to it because like the sound was definitely like they didn't probably record the sound when they did this, so it was like dubbed over, and at certain points it's like this, it's like really creepily odd, and the movie is like it's a French film, but like it's 90% like silent with just like music and like weird synth and stuff. But it's basically the only plot of this movie is this really odd guy wearing this mask. And he's out there in the woods, and anyone that comes into his woods and domain, he goes after them. He kills them. He kills his kid. He kills the family, and he like holds people captive. And he's like, the thing that's kind of funny about this movie too is it's like they were making this movie, and then it was like about this guy in the woods, and then at one point they're like, I wish we were making a zombie movie, and then all of a sudden it becomes a zombie movie. It was real, and like for no real exact reason. And then it's like this zombie movie, like these long scenes of the zombies traipsing around the woods and stuff. But like I said, it's just this really peculiar shot and video thing, really pretty much silent. And I really love this. Like it was like one of those movies that you like really think about a lot, just because it's weird. And I can't believe I didn't see this till now. And if you like really odd shot on videos, even though this isn't, it's shot on 8 millimeter, and it's got bad edits in it and some of it, and like bad dubbing, and the sound is off and a lot, just like because it was just like you could tell they didn't totally know what they were doing in some ways, and that's kind of what made this movie amazing. But if you guys have seen this before, let me know your take on the movie. But I really like this one. And it has on here, though, like a new cleaned up version of the movie as well. The next one here from Full Moon, and I, for the life of me, can't remember all the plot of this, and I watched this movie about a week and a half ago, but I can't remember exactly everything that happens in this movie. But it's called Head of the Family. There's some movies when you watch them, you kind of like forget them in a weird way, and you only remember like 2 or 3 details because you're like perplexed for how odd this movie was. And this is one of those movies, and it's like finally on Blu-ray. The picture quality is great on this one though, but it's basically though about this what I can remember to explain it is this really odd gigantic head that like basically is like a weird horny kind of head guy, like this giant head on this weird body, and he just has this odd family that lives in this house of these two, and he kind of controls everybody with his mind. The family is all synced into him, and it's just basically about this other couple that lives by in the neighborhood, and like the one is like cheating on the one that works in this restaurant, and then like the woman ends up getting like kidnapped because of like the plan, because they didn't want the one guy with the other person, and she gets there and like taken in by the head of the family, and the head of the family is like licking her with his tongue, and there's like really odd nude scenes in this and stuff. It's it's one of those movies. I think I saw this movie when I was like when it first came out, and it was kind of weird. I was watching it like I was like 11 or something, but it's a very odd full moon movie, and it even has on here a promo for a movie they never did called Bride of Head. That was going to be like the head of the family's like wife or something. They never made that movie though. And the next one here, this is I don't know if you can buy this or not. And this is like, they sent this one over, and it's called Raven Wolf's Towers. It's the first episode called Bad Mary. And it's like, the show right now, though, is like on their streaming service. And I think you can see their streaming service through Amazon as well. It's called like Full Moon Direct, I think it is, or Full Moon On Demand. I can't remember their name of their streaming service for certain. But I know that's way you can see it right now, and I'm sure there'd be like a DVD or like a full cut movie of the whole series down the line. But this is like the first episode, and it's called Raven Wolf Towers, and it's a signed copy, and I think Charles Band signed it, I think. But it's basically though from the first episode, what I was reading too was it was some of the characters from past full moon movies come together, and it's this weird building. This guy comes there to work to manage this building, like kind of oversee it, and there's all these kind of weird stuff going on. There's like this weird sister and brother, I think, and then they had their mother and this weird kind of big guy who's like, you know, traipsing around the building. And it's like just like a weird, strange building with all these weird characters and odd stuff going on in there. But from the first episode, it actually seemed pretty cool, though. I'm not sure if it's going to be like that one they did, which was their series, like I said, when they're going to cut it all into a full movie down the line or not. But like I said, though, right now, though, it's on their streaming service. The next one here, I only have the disc to this one because it's like an early disc, because it's not going to be, I'm not sure when it's going to come to DVD, but it's going to be on, you know, video on demand on the 24th. And I wanted to talk about this one because of how much I liked it, because I don't usually talk about things that are just on disc like this, but it's a movie called, let me make sure I said everything right here, called Parasites. A Chad Farron movie called Parasites. I'll just hold this disc up. It's just a weird, like it's a disc the guy made for me, but it's basically, though, it was absolutely amazing. The thing, one reason I really wanted to watch this one, because Joe Pilato, if you guys know, Day of the Dead, he's always like, choke on them. You know, that guy, you know, that head, Captain Rhodes. I've always loved that guy. But he actually has a little part in this movie, and it's basically about these three friends that are driving around LA, and the one kind of recently moved there. They're kind of going around town. They end up getting lost, and they get lost in the Skid Row area, and they get taken in by and like kind of attacked by these this giant group of these homeless people that live under this tunnel under the bridge. And it's kind of them, and the two guys end up getting killed. The one guy ends up getting left for dead, and they steal his clothes, and it's kind of him running through the LA River butt naked, and like these homeless people all coming after him, and he ends up killing the one guy and taking his clothes. And the movie is basically this insane revenge movie of them kind of chasing after him. It's got that Escape from New York kind of vibe of him just throughout the night going around trying to figure out how to find the cops, trying to find everywhere, because he really doesn't have any clue where he is, and it's this nightmare of a situation. And it was amazing, and it was like so cool. You know, it's got a couple little technically things, but I don't know, when this one is out, like I said, it's going to be on video on demand and Vudu and all that kind of stuff, and then hopefully it has a Blu-ray release and stuff down the line as well. But really like that a lot. The next one here from a company called I think it's like Legacy. It doesn't like LC Films, I think. To make sure I say it right, but it's Don't Look in the Basement 2, which, you know, the original Don't Look in the Basement. This is the I think it's his son that directed this one. The original movie was from the 70s, and this movie is basically one of the surviving members of the first, massacre. Because you guys remember there was a guy, people getting killed at this, like, the sane asylum, and the one guy with the popsicles and all that stuff. I always really liked that movie, but it's basically, though, it's kind of what ends up happening. The one guy gets taken to this new insane asylum, and as soon as he gets there, one of the survivors weird things end up happening there, and people start dying, and it also deals with like odd experiments and all kinds of stuff going on. If you guys are a fan of the movie, though, it was a pretty cool one. This one here, this was okay. Mindy Robinson was in this movie. It's called Ballet of Blood. I mean, it just kind of had a lot of like dialogue sort of scenes to us a little bit. I mean, I didn't super dislike it. It didn't totally bring you in too much. Like I said, it's called Ballet of Blood, and it's about this ballet academy, and the one person kind of took a gun there and like went crazy and like killed somebody, and it was like, and then like the one person ends up getting like taken into like a nut house because they think she might have had something to do with the one woman, because the one that did it ended up going missing. And it's kind of like cutting back and forth to like the one who's in the insane asylum with these weird doctors, and the other one like out on the loose. And then it's like just going back to this, like planning what they're going to do and go back to the valley, and then people start getting killed off and stuff like that. That's essentially what it is. It runs a little long, though. Like, I felt like it could have been trimmed down a little bit. I mean, it was interesting, but I said it just dragged on a little bit to me, if you ask me, though. The next one here from Time Life is the Red Skeleton Hour and Cover. in color. This is like unreleased seasons. I think I might have had one of the other sets of this as well in the past. But Red Skelton was basically like a comedian, and it's kind of like his kind of variety type show where he would like interview guests. And then he had like crazy, like silly types of skits and stuff like that. It has on here though, some of the guest stars like Milton Berle, Tim Conway, Merv Griffin, John Wayne, a whole bunch of different people on here. But like I said, this is like the show when it was in color, like the later episodes of the show, and it has as well unreleased seasons. This one is pretty cool. This was The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. It was Johnny and Friends featuring Jerry Seinfeld. It's all episodes Jerry Seinfeld was in from like the 85, 86, 88. But the cool thing is that it includes the commercials. So it's got like Burger King ads and stuff. So it's like basically like just like watching on TV in the 80s, and it kind of cuts in the commercials that would come on. And that kind of was, to me, the commercials was a really cool part. It also had on here, one of the guests was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it was him talking about this movie. It was like one of those like lost movies that he was going to do but never got done, and it was like him kind of talking about it, going, I'm going to be doing this, and it never happened. So it was kind of cool him talking about this movie that he never ended up doing. And it was like, and he was also talking about how he's just shooting right now Twins, and I don't know, to me I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And it has, like I said, the early Jerry Seinfeld thing as well, because that's the main feature stuff on here. But anyway, though, guys, that's all for this video. Thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.